Previously, on the Power Up Man Show Roundtable, our panel explored the effects of unforgiveness.
He wants to single you out. He wants to alienate you. And he knows that there's power in coming together. Yes, right. There's power when you link together. There's power when you come together and hold hands as men in prayer.
It's like a form of bondage that the enemy likes to use, to keep you in that downtrodden place.
Right. That bondage starts early, even before your last previous relationship or your last previous marriage. A lot of times as adults, we'll think about it relatively in a short time period.
We're killing our kidneys by being stressed out about unforgiveness.
Let's jump back in as the discussion gets personal.
Now, we talked about it a little bit in the last episode because I shared some of my unforgiveness issues, and I was notorious, and I still have to work on it because I still will hold on to some things, but I'm a lot better than I used to be. Not only will it impede you from having a full life and it destroys your physical, but it can also impede you from going into the kingdom of heaven when you leave here. Let's go there. Now that's the ultimate disaster. Because who are we? I mean, we live a life. I mean, we're born in the flesh. We're born in the sin. But the one thing that we do have is we have forgiveness. We have mercy. We have grace bestowed upon us as a believer. Right? So again, here we are. We won't forgive, but we're asking for forgiveness. Not just every day. Like, we're being forgiven minute by minute. Like, in some cases, second by second. Yeah. Those things you're being forgiven for. So, ultimately, the Bible has a lot to say about forgiveness. Peter asked, well, Lord, how many times do we forgive somebody who has, betrayed us or handled us incorrectly? And then the number was given, 7 times? No, 7 times 70. That's a lot of times. That's a big number. That's 490 times, right? So, all right, so if you're going to sit down and try to remember every time, so in other words, you do something against me, I say, all right, I'll let you have that one. Yeah. And then you do something else, all right, I'll give you that one too. But we just keep going on. And if you're going to sit there and remember 490 different episodes in which you came against me, you got problems bigger than unforgiveness anyway. But the point is, you don't keep a record. I talked about before how I keep a record, how I almost kept a Rolodex in my mind of who did what. I remember once I got jumped in the bathroom when I was in the 6th grade by a bunch of 7th graders. Okay? It lets you know I have a problem just because I can remember it to the T. It was like 2 weeks before school was over, and these guys, I go in the bathroom, the 7th graders was in there, they jumped me. They blooded my nose. My nose used to be very easy to bleed growing up. So they blooded my nose. I come out, had on a nice white shirt. I never forget. I had blood all over my shirt, and these guys beat me up. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna get each one of those guys one by one. And I did. When I got to high school, I remembered it was 4 of them. And I got them each one by one. Some of them it took to the 10th grade to get them. But I got each and every last one of them. And I beat them all down, and I beat them down unmercifully. Now, it's the truth. It's the truth. Now, I'm just saying, I had this Rolodex that I kept. I was very bad about, I've talked about in some other episodes how I used to be, quick tempered, in which I still do struggle with that, but I'm nothing like I used to be. Right. But a lot of that came from unforgiveness. That thing that held me bound, and still does in some small, not as much as it used to, but it's still there. I gotta keep that guy locked up. I try to keep that guy put away because that guy can get unruly. And I'm just being transparent here. But that came from unforgiveness, from things that happened in my childhood. To say, when I get older and I become a grown man, I'm not gonna take no crap. I'm not gonna be disrespected. You're not gonna be able to beat me up as easy. You're not gonna handle me that way. So I kept that resentment and that unforgiveness from what people had done to me when I was a little young guy. Again, you're right. All this stuff usually stems back from a very young age, and it gets added on to and amplified as we go along. But as you started off with saying, that's the callus, that's the nucleus of this thing. Yep. Is when we're young, and then it just keeps getting more and more. And if you never deal with it, now the good thing with me, and I said before, I sought medical psychological counseling, because I felt that I was going to implode or explode, and neither one of those were going to be good. So I'm going to tell you, a lot of people call people of color angry. Well, you know what I think? I think we're just people who have been taking a lot of stuff, and a lot of abuse has happened, and we're holding that resentment and that unforgiveness, and it's made us bitter. And that's what people think as us being angry. I think we're harboring a lot of interior stuff, baggage that has not been dealt with. And this is my thing, I always call it unresolved hurt. That's the next subject matter. Unresolved hurt. Unresolved hurt directly relates with unforgiveness. That's right. So if you don't forgive someone, you can't. That's one of the processes in trying to get relieved from something, is to deal with that issue. That way you don't have to block it in your mind and try to have your blockers on. I mean, your body does it automatically to protect itself.
Now, one of the ways that what you're talking about affects your everyday existence and your health is that you might have forgiven each one of those individuals who abused you personally. And it got a little bit easier for you when you got the revenge.
Right.
But yet still hidden is that unforgiveness, that nobody is going to abuse me like that again.
Right. And I always call it disrespect. You're not going to disrespect.
And so each time somebody says something to you, and I've dealt with this in social events with you before.
Right.
Somebody does something in a disrespectful manner.
Right.
At that point, you start boiling.
Right.
Now, when you start boiling, because you're going to set them straight, you're not going to allow it to happen. Your blood pressure go up.
Yep.
Which means that your filters in your kidneys are being beat up on.
Wow.
And you're losing it. And then your heart has to beat faster. And it got to pump harder. Your cardiac output goes way up. So you actually are causing yourself, even though you might not have very bad hypertension, some myocarditis, inflammation in your heart, because it's working way too hard. So not only are you killing your kidney, but you're killing your heart. Now, what most people don't realize is that we have a lot of problems dealing with our day-to-day. Let's say you're not quite old enough for your sexual performance to decrease, and you're wondering why. And now you're having all sorts of anxiety because you're having problems with your sex. But I'm gonna tell you, long before you start having a heart problem, the small vessels in your heart, well, your private parts have smaller vessels. So just like it's beating up on your heart, it's beating up on your loin. And so what happens? Now, well, you might not be having that problem. That's fine. I'm glad for you. But a lot of brothers are at your age or even younger. And now Viagra has been our outlet, because we're going to increase the blood flow, because it won't increase on its own because there's too much resistance that has occurred each time you get stricken with this unforgiveness. And this defense. I'm not to be disrespected. You don't even know it, but your blood pressure is raging right there. Somebody says something to you and your blood pressure is all the way up 200. That's transient. And once you settle down, it comes back to baseline. But you keep on doing this, and finally, you need some help. Now, one of the things that you said that's very important is that you got to realize your limitation. You can't fight this all alone. There's nothing wrong with going and get some counseling. For us, we're counseling amongst ourselves in this men group. Black folks have been counseling in these religious doctrines, get prayer groups, church study on Bible study on Wednesday. And so that's how that was their outlet. Right. And so historically, I know my mother used to pray every time something happened bad to us. That was her outlet. Instead of worrying about it, she'd give it to God. Yeah. But the difference between those Pentecostal individuals, sometimes when they went to the altar, they left it there. Mm-hmm. But see, we go to the altar, we leave that event, but we take that hostility home. And so you still feel like somebody's trying to disrespect you deep in your heart. So that would happen to you back in the 6th grade, you're still afflicted with it today. And so we worked on that. Man, you gotta let this hostility go.
Right. When we decide to be in unforgiveness, we're actually giving place to the enemy when we do that. Right. The Bible tells us not to do that. And now really the Bible in general is just a love letter from God to us saying, these are the things how I want you to live. Right. Stay away from this, don't do that. It's not like a dictator saying, don't do that. Hey, he's like, I love you. I know what's ahead, what's down the road. If you proceed in this particular path, if you proceed in the path of unforgiveness, for intensive purposes, this is what it looks like. Right. It's gonna give place to the enemy. It gives him a place. Okay, now that when you operate in that place and you give him that space, he's gonna torment you in that place. Yes. And the same ways that Doc was just talking about, physically, all those effects, all those things, the consequences that can happen, your kidneys, your heart, that kind of thing, all those different issues.
And strokes.
That's right. All of that.
The diseases of black people.
Yes, all these issues can come from that, along with a multitude of other things, because his purpose at the end of the day is to steal, kill, and destroy. And he wants to take you out. Yes. Bottom line.
I always say, people, they probably don't want to say this or admit this, but if we had a work ethic like the devil,
oh my God. Oh yeah.
Oh man. Wow, dude. Yeah.
The enemy's work ethic is unmatched.
Yes.
It's unmatched. We humanly can't match it. That's why it's so important that we stay built up and guarded with the power of the Holy Ghost, because he is the only one that can surpass that work ethic.
Right.
Yes.
So we can't do it on our own. Yeah. And so just like we've been saying here and trying to understand how forgiving is actually self-healing, it's better for us when we can forgive someone else. Yeah. It's not so much about forgiving that person and then they get off scot-free, which a lot of people think about. Right. Well, if I forgive you, then, you didn't pay any, penance for whatever you did, versus understanding that to forgive is really, I'm letting myself go of this situation. Right. I don't have to hold on to it. I don't have to not want to think about it. I don't have to think about it. Right. I don't care about it anymore. It's over. It's done with. I'm moving forward. The next thing that comes forward, I don't want to see it happen, but if I have to run up against it and forgive it, I'm better prepared with it because of what just happened. Yes. That's how it feels sometimes when we have loss. When you lost your mom, or when I lost my father, in those moments, you can go to a very dark place because humanly, you may not agree with the fact that if this is in the will of God to happen, I didn't want this. Right. I humanly didn't want this transaction to happen right now where you took my parent at this moment. I felt like they had more time. Right. But we're not God. He gets the final say. And so when we sit there and we pray to allow the will of God to be something that we grow to understand and have peace with, that's also us being able to forgive even with him when he does something in his will that we don't agree with. Right. Mm-hmm.
When Keith's mother died, he prayed hard.
Yeah.
I prayed with him.
That's right.
And I don't think I ever seen him pray so hard.
That's right.
He prayed. Mm-hmm. We went to the hospital. We prayed together right there at her bedside. We prayed before she got to the hospital when they sent her home, when she was sick enough to be admitted. Right. They didn't know what to do with COVID. And so therefore we prayed. and the Lord called her. Now, sometimes it's not about those who go down. Sometimes it's about those who still live. But Keith was hurt so bad by this. The burdens was hard on his soul. And so when another one of our friends got COVID and he's in the hospital on a ventilator and they didn't expect him to make it, and we praying hard, Keith said, well, I'm kind of like in a space now where I don't know where to go. Because I'm afraid that, and this is unforgiveness. It almost like you hold God accountable for taking something from you. Yes. When it's already written, the wages of sin is death. It has nothing to do with her. Yes. That's right. But it has a lot to do with you right now, because the road that she's led for you, you got to follow that path. Yeah. So when we start praying for our friend Joe, Keith was kind of reluctant. Lord, I don't want to give it all to you. I don't want to lay it all down and then be let down again. How will I respond? Right. Already in this short time, as a grown man, there is some unforgiveness about losing his mother. That's right. Yeah. Unforgiveness about, did I do the things that I should have been doing as a good son before she left? I didn't expect her to go. I expected to have more time. Right. But then we got to come back and lay it all down. Just like we prayed for Joe, we got to pray for Ram and his situation. We got to pray for you and your situation. And you can't hold the Lord accountable for something that we did. We got to forgive our forefathers who did the sins that put us in this position. That's right. We don't have to forgive the Lord. I mean, and so people have all these hidden unforgiveness. They don't forgive the hospital facility in which their loved ones died.
Wow, that's deep.
And they would rather pass by the hospital to go to another hospital and die en route, and they could have been saved because they have some unforgiveness about that facility.
Well, I say it's deep because when you usually think about unforgiveness, you think about unforgiveness to a person or a human, or even to yourself. I brought that up the last time about forgiving yourself. That's a big deal as well. It is. But I've never thought about the unforgiveness of a place or the unforgiveness of an act of an association or a group or some medical care or some
inanimate object.
An object. I never thought about that, but guess what? That's profound, because that's true.
Yeah, for me, when my father passed, he passed at a hospital that I didn't know, I wasn't familiar with it because it was in Washington D.C. Right. And but it was a learning hospital is what they call it. It left something with me, and where I was staying for a while, like, oh, okay, did this happen because there were people that hadn't been doing it for 35 years for you now, 36 years? 36 years working on them. He had people that was working on them that had less or weren't as accredited as Doc is at this point.
Right. But still, there's young people who got great minds and they can deliver great service. That's right. But the problem that you got is that you already have disclosed what I was talking about. That's right. You are unforgiving to a learning institution. Mm-hmm. But yet and still, you'll find that the learning institution get better endowments from the government. Mm-hmm. They have more money. They charge more for every day you're in the hospital, because of their cost. Their baseline cost is more because they do that. They give them money to train people. So therefore, the learning hospitals are some of the best institutions in the world. You're not going to go to no Mayo Clinic and nobody's being taught anything. You're not going to go to no St. Jude and you don't have learning in that hospital. You're going to have residents. People are coming up and they're going to be the leaders of tomorrow. Yeah. But they had to learn someplace. Right. And guess where they learn? St. John's. Mm-hmm. Emory's a great facility. It is, right? Okay, so they're learning at some of the best facilities. The one that you're afraid to go to might be the place that you need to go to.
Good point, Doc.
Absolutely.
So, as it says in the Bible, we have to forgive. A lot of information we went over here today. Ton of it. Great information. But it always goes back, and I'm going to say what I always say. Back to where the rubber meets the road. And the rubber meets the road at this point. This is the deal. You gotta let it go. You gotta forgive. There's several ways. Seek a health professional.
Absolutely.
Seek prayer.
Absolutely.
Seek friends, a group. And I go again on this, and I go hard on this. Get a group of people. And this is not just for men, this is for everybody. Get some people that you trust, who can love you in your present state when you're not so popular to be a friend of, not just when you're winning. Have some people that you can be yourself. When we talk about the identity crisis, some people that don't have masks on. With these guys, we check our egos at the door.
Yeah.
We don't have masks on here. We're completely transparent. Find you a group. Seek a group. Pray for a group. Pray for the Lord to bring these people in your life.
Faith-based.
Faith-based.
Like-minded.
These are the things, that's how you can release. These are the aids that help you to release and forgive.
Absolutely.
Unforgiveness can stop you from having a beautiful life. Life is full of trials and tribulations. That's a guarantee. But how do you process these trials and tribulations? That's what counts. If you can go through the trials and tribulations and you know that the Lord is on your side and you know that at the end of the day, it's going to be okay anyway. I told somebody once, what can you do to me? If I know I love the Lord and I know I'm going to go to heaven, what can you do to me? What you going to do, kill me? Oh, that's overrated because you're just going to send me away. Good. I fly away.
If you're in the right
I fly away. So the worst thing you can do is keep me around and try to torture me.
Yeah.
Because killing me won't get it done.
It's gonna get you a pathway right to heaven.
So
Right
if
to the
you're in
pearly
that,
gates.
if you're in that process, if you're in that thought process as a believer, and I gotta say, this show right here is coming a little hard, but I gotta say, be a believer, seek the Lord, seek his face. Seek his face first. Seek his face first and everything else will fall in alignment.
Absolutely.
Even through the trials and the tribulations, even through the problems that the world will bring. Life is tough. I say it on every episode, but it's how you process it. So if you have that relationship that we always talk about, a relationship, communication, not just go to church, not just go to the Lord when you want something, a communication process. You listen, you talk back and forth. Every day, be ready so you don't have to get ready. When life hits you in the mouth, you're ready.
That's right.
You're ready. You don't have to get ready. So I can't press that enough. If that's the one thing that we can communicate in this episode, with all of the information that's been shared here with these gentlemen, that's the one thing you got to let it go. Let it go and have that communication with the Father.
Let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go. And with that being said, man, this is absolutely great. We got to say it 4 times. Power up, brother. Power up. Power up. Great session.
Power up.
But remember to support us. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Follow us. Leave some comments. Talk to us. Bring up some subject matter that you want to hear down the line. Hey man, we love you. We're here. We're coming with all love. We fighting darkness with light. Transparency is the way to the truth. We're in a little bit of a different setting this time. But we hope that it was informative. And we hope that this bless you. We love you. Out. Okay. And you are. Welcome to the Power Up Man Cave. We're doing something a little bit different this time. We're doing a Power Up Man Roundtable. We're right around. We got my boy Big Gary Rambo here.
That's right.
We got my boy Stan Entre here. And we got my boy Doc, man. Doc. Man, I just hold on.